Ask any man who's been blindsided by betrayal, and he'll tell you the same thing. The signs were there all along, but he ignored them. Why? Because the lies sounded so ordinary. She said it was just a girl's night. She said she had to stay late at work. She said her friend needed her, and because those excuses sounded believable, he let them slide. He wanted to avoid conflict, so he swallowed his doubts. And by the time the truth came out, it was too late. That's how most men get blindsided. Not because the woman was an incredible liar, but because he chose comfort over clarity, silence over strength. And in that silence, deception grew unchecked. Now, I don't want that to be your story. That's why I'm going to walk you through 6 of the most common excuses women use when they're secretly seeing another man. By the end of this series, you'll not only recognize the red flags, you'll understand the psychology behind them. You'll know why these excuses are so effective and how to spot the cracks in the story before it's too late. But first, let me ask you something. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. How many times have you ignored that uneasy feeling in your gut? How many times have you told yourself, I should just trust her, even though the story didn't sit right? And when you did that, was it because she had proven she was trustworthy, or because you were afraid of conflict? That question matters, because here's the cold truth. Your instincts are rarely wrong. Your gut picks up on signals your conscious mind tries to ignore. The little shifts in tone, the changes in body language, the inconsistencies in timing, your subconscious notices them all. But most men bury those signals because they don't want to look insecure. And this is where betrayal often begins. Not with her first lie, but with your first act of self-betrayal. When you choose comfort over clarity, you hand over your power. If you're ready to stop repeating that mistake, hit like and subscribe right now. And in the comments, be honest. When was the last time you ignored your instincts? Say it out loud. Recognition is the first step toward change. Now let's break down the first excuse women use and why it works so well. Excuse number 1. It's just a girl's night. You've heard this line before. She says it casually, like it's the most normal thing in the world. She drops a few names of friends you've met once or twice. Maybe she adds a detail about a birthday, a promotion, or some milestone worth celebrating. And then she says the magic words, "Don't wait up." You know how it gets when the girls are together. On the surface, it sounds innocent. After all, you want to respect her independence. You don't want to be the controlling boyfriend who doesn't let his woman see her friends. And society has conditioned men to treat girls' night like sacred territory, untouchable, unquestionable. And she knows it. That's why this excuse is so powerful. It works because it taps into your natural desire to avoid looking insecure. If you question her, you risk being labeled controlling. If you stay silent, you preserve the peace, but at the cost of clarity. But here's what's really happening beneath that excuse. She may actually show up for part of the night with her friends. They'll grab dinner, maybe take a few photos for social proof, and post them online. That gives her cover. Then at some point, she slips away, on the excuse of leaving early or needing to use the bathroom. And that's when she meets the man she didn't tell you about. By the time she comes home, she has an airtight alibi. She was with the girls, and she has the pictures to prove it. The subtle red flags. So how do you spot when girls' night isn't really girls' night? Look for these signs. 1. Overdressing for the occasion. If she's glamming up like it's a date, not a casual dinner, pay attention. 2. Vague or changing details. 1 minute it's dinner at a restaurant, the next it's drinks at a friend's place. The plan shifts too easily. 3. Phone behavior. Does her phone stay face down the entire evening? Does she take it everywhere, even to the restroom? That's not about friends, that's about secrecy. 4. Rehearsed stories afterward. If her recap feels more like a script than a natural conversation, she's covering something. A woman who truly values her friendships has nothing to hide. She'll tell you where they're going. She'll answer if you call. She may even invite you to swing by. But a woman using girls' night as camouflage will bristle if you ask questions. She'll flip the guilt on you. Why don't you trust me? What, I can't even see my friends now? That's not transparency, that's manipulation. Because here's the reality. Loyalty doesn't require secrecy. If her explanation feels more like a shield than a simple answer, you should be alert. Excuse number 2. I have to stay late at work. Now, this one is perhaps the most convincing excuse of them all. Why? Because it's wrapped in responsibility. Who would question their partner's career? She tells you she has a big deadline, a demanding boss, or a client dinner she can't miss. And instantly, you're put in a difficult position. Do you really want to be the man who makes her choose between you and her career? Of course not. And she knows it. That's why this excuse is so effective. She might say something like, I'll be stuck at the office until 9. Don't wait up. I'll just grab dinner at my desk. Later, she texts you. Still working. Almost done. I'm so exhausted. You picture her chained to her desk, grinding through spreadsheets. Meanwhile, she could be across town, laughing over dinner with someone else. Why this excuse works? 1. It appeals to your respect for ambition. You want to support her goals. 2. It plays on your fear of being unsupportive. If you question her too much, you risk being labeled insecure. 3. It hides behind a safe environment. The workplace feels sterile, professional. The last place you'd suspect betrayal. But the truth? Many affairs begin at work. People spend long hours together, bonds form, lines blur. So, what are the red flags? Repeated patterns. Is she suddenly working late on the same nights every week? Appearance shifts. Does she dress up more on the days she's supposedly buried in paperwork? Energy mismatch. Real late nights leave people tired, drained, irritable. But if she comes home glowing, energized, evasive, that's not exhaustion. That's excitement. And here's a powerful test. Offer to bring her dinner at the office. Suggest walking her to her car when she's done. A woman who's genuinely working late will usually welcome the gesture. But one hiding behind this excuse will shut it down fast. She'll say it's inconvenient. She'll insist there's no need. She'll deflect, because your presence threatens the lie. The harsh truth is this. Genuine ambition doesn't demand secrecy. Real work drains energy. It doesn't light her up like she just came from a date. By now, you've seen how 2 of the most common excuses, girls' night and working late, aren't just harmless statements. They're carefully crafted shields, designed to play on your respect, your hesitation, and your fear of being labeled controlling. But those aren't the only ones. Some excuses go even deeper because they don't just hide behind independence or responsibility. They weaponize your empathy. They use your compassion against you. Today, we're going to break down 2 of the most manipulative lines women use. 1. I'm helping a friend. 2. I just need some me time. These might sound innocent, even noble, but once you see the psychology behind them, you'll realize how dangerous they really are. Excuse number 3. I'm helping a friend. At first, this one feels untouchable. She tells you someone close to her is going through a crisis. Maybe her best friend is dealing with a messy breakup, a family problem, or even a health scare. She says, she really needs me tonight. I can't let her go through this alone. Now, think about how that lands. Your protective instinct collides with your compassion. On one hand, you want to be there for your woman. On the other, you don't want to look like the guy who stops her from supporting someone in pain. That's exactly why this excuse works. Because if you question it, she can flip the guilt right back on you. So you don't want me to be there for my best friend. Do you realize how selfish that sounds? Suddenly, instead of protecting yourself, you're defending your humanity. You're trying to prove that you're not cold-hearted. And that's exactly where she wants you. Off balance, doubting yourself, and giving her the freedom she needs to disappear. The psychology of the friend in crisis. Excuse this story is layered with emotional manipulation. 1. It makes her indispensable. She'll say she's the only one her friend trusts. The only one who can help. That language makes her absence feel unavoidable. 2. It weaponizes your empathy. If you raise doubts, you're painted as selfish. 3. It creates a shield of nobility. On the surface, it looks like kindness. Who wants to be the villain who gets in the way of compassion? But here's the truth. Compassion and secrecy don't belong together. The red flags. So how do you know when helping a friend is actually a cover? Watch for these patterns. Timing. Do these emergencies always happen at night, on weekends, or at moments when she'd otherwise be free to meet someone else? Faceless friends. Have you ever actually met these friends? Or do they remain invisible names in stories you're supposed to believe without question? Deflection. When you offer to help, does she shut it down? Suggest inviting the friend over, or propose that you both go out to support her. If the crisis is real, she'll welcome your involvement. But if it's fake, she'll get defensive fast, because your presence would expose the lie. The sharpest tell is this: if every offer of help is rejected, it's not about compassion, it's about cover. Here's the reality. A woman who truly cares about her friend will not see your support as a threat. She'll value it. But if every friend in crisis keeps you on the outside, you're not dealing with friendship, you're dealing with manipulation. Excuse number 4. I just need some me time. This one is even trickier because it hides behind something that sounds positive and even enlightened. In today's culture, self-care is everywhere. Articles, podcasts, therapists, influencers, they all talk about the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing yourself. And they're right. Everyone does need personal space. But here's the catch. Because self-care is so widely accepted, it's the perfect disguise. Picture the setup. She says she's been stressed, overwhelmed with work or life responsibilities. She tells you, I just need a little time to clear my head. Maybe a yoga class, some shopping, just focusing on myself. Now, on the surface, that sounds perfectly reasonable. You don't want to be the clingy guy who can't give his partner breathing room. And she knows that. She's counting on your hesitation. Why me time works as a cover 1. It taps into modern relationship advice. You've been told healthy couples maintain individuality. 2. It frames you as insecure if you question it. If you ask too many questions, you're smothering her. 3. It borrows authority from outside sources. She might even add, my therapist says I need to prioritize self-care. Suddenly, disagreeing with her feels like disagreeing with science, and that's the genius of this excuse. It turns something good, personal growth, into a shield for betrayal. The red flags. Here's how you tell the difference between genuine me time and deceptive me time. Exclusivity. Does she insist on always doing it alone, even when the activity could easily involve you? Real self-care doesn't require isolation. Defensiveness. Does she get unusually irritated when you ask simple questions about where she's going or what she's doing? Transparency is not a threat to true independence. Mood mismatch. When she comes back, does she look calm and grounded, like someone who spent time recharging? Or does she come home glowing, energized, and oddly giddy, as if she just had a lively social interaction, not quiet reflection? Here's the simple test. Real solitude leaves people peaceful. Fake solitude leaves them buzzing. The core truth about me time. Space in a relationship is healthy. Secrecy is not. If she uses me time as a weapon to carve you out of the picture, it's not about wellness. It's about deception. Personal growth doesn't require disappearing acts. A loyal partner who truly values her independence will also value your trust. She'll be transparent, not defensive. The moment self-care starts looking more like an excuse to vanish than an opportunity to recharge, you need to see it for what it is. Manipulation dressed up as enlightenment. We've now covered 4 powerful excuses. Girls' night working late. Helping a friend, me time. Each one sounds normal, even noble, on the surface. But the truth is they all share the same purpose: to create distance, to give her cover, and to make you feel guilty for asking questions. We've already seen how excuses like girls' night, working late, helping a friend, and me time are powerful because they're hard to question without looking controlling, insecure, or selfish. But the last 2 are even more dangerous. Why? Because they don't just use your hesitation against you, they use your values. They hide behind family and routine, two of the strongest shields in any relationship. Excuse number 5. I'm visiting family. On the surface, this one feels bulletproof. She says she's going to check on her parents, a sibling, maybe even a grandparent. And as soon as she mentions family, you freeze. Because family isn't just personal, it's sacred. You've been raised to believe you respect it no matter what. If you question her, you risk looking like a man who doesn't honor family bonds. And nobody wants to carry that label. That's exactly why this excuse is so effective. She can disappear for hours, even days, under the umbrella of family duty. If you press her, she has a quick counter ready. So what? You don't want me to see my mom? You're that controlling? In that moment, you're cornered. The conversation is no longer about her actions, it's about your character. She's turned you from a man with questions into a man with accusations hanging over his head. The psychology behind the family. Excuse 1. It feels untouchable. Nobody wants to look like the guy standing in the way of family obligations. 2. It buys long windows of freedom. Unlike a quick errand or a short hangout, family visits can last hours or even overnight. That's a lot of space to move undetected. 3. It guilt traps you. The more you push, the colder you look. She's not just avoiding suspicion, she's making you doubt your own morality. The red flags. So how do you know when family time is genuine and when it's just a mask? Pay attention to the details. Consistency. Real family visits are consistent. If she suddenly becomes the most devoted daughter or sister overnight, especially when stress shows up in your relationship, something's off. Transparency. A woman who's truly visiting family won't hide it. You'll know which family member, what the issue is, and you'll sometimes even get invited along. Vagueness. If she says, I'm going to see my cousin, but never names the cousin, never shows photos, or never suggests you join, it's not about family, it's about cover. The sharpest test? Offer to drive her there, or casually say you'd like to drop by later. If her face tightens, if her mood shifts, or if she suddenly insists she needs to go alone, you've just spotted the mask slipping. Because here's the truth. Loyalty doesn't hide behind family. It shares family. It welcomes you in. Excuse number 6. I have errands to run. This one is the most subtle, but it might be the most dangerous. Why? Because it hides behind the everyday. It hides in plain sight. Think about it. Errands are the perfect excuse because they sound boring. Groceries, pharmacy, gas station, dry cleaner. Nobody questions them because they're ordinary, and nobody wants to look paranoid about a trip to the store. That's why this excuse is deadly. It's invisible. She says, I just have a few things to take care of. Don't wait up, and with that, she's free. Free from questions, free from suspicion, free to vanish into the night under the most forgettable excuse possible. Why errands? Work as a cover 1. They sound harmless. Everyone has errands. It doesn't raise alarms. 2. They're flexible. Errands can take 10 minutes or 2 hours, and you'll never know the difference. 3. They discourage follow-up. Nobody asks for receipts from the grocery store or timestamps from the gas pump. That's the genius of it. It's simple, ordinary, and invisible. The red flags. But ordinary doesn't mean invisible if you know where to look. Here's what to watch for. Time mismatch. A quick store run that drags into hours without explanation. Over-explaining. Strangely detailed lists of errands that sound rehearsed, like she's preparing an alibi before you even asked. Pattern recognition. Do these errands always pop up at the same times? Nights, weekends, moments when she should be free for you? That's not routine. That's a cover. And here's the ultimate test. Genuine errands leave a trail. Bags, receipts, fuel in the tank. Fake errands leave nothing but silence. The core truth about family and errands. Family and errands are powerful shields because they play on two deep instincts: respect and routine. You respect family. You don't question the mundane. But that's exactly why they work. They're designed to slip under your radar, to keep you second-guessing yourself, and to make you feel guilty for even raising the question. Here's the hard truth. Loyalty doesn't need shields. Transparency doesn't need alibis. When family becomes a wall instead of a bridge, when errands become escapes instead of routines, you're not dealing with ordinary life anymore. You're dealing with calculated deception. Final words. We've now covered 6 of the most common excuses women use when they want to hide their real actions. 1. Girls' night 2. Working late 3. Helping a friend 4. Me time 5. Visiting family 6th. Running errands. Each one sounds innocent, even noble, but each one, when repeated with vagueness, defensiveness, or secrecy, is not a coincidence. It's a signal. The tragedy is that most men ignore these signals until it's too late. They think questioning makes them insecure. They think silence makes them strong. But silence doesn't protect you, it blinds you. Here's the truth. A loyal woman won't make you feel guilty for wanting clarity. She won't use compassion, self-care, family, or routine as weapons. She'll be transparent because she has nothing to hide. But when excuses pile up, when stories don't match actions, when every question is turned back on you, that's when you need to stop, step back and see things clearly. Because at the end of the day, excuses aren't just words. They're smokescreens. And the man who sees through them is the man who protects his value, his time, and his future.